it is it's a folder, so I need a zip.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right. All right, we can tackle that right afterwards. Okay, so we wanted to get some clarity on the extended hours legislation. I decided to just kind of remove it just so we could get the other things sort of move forward. But so the issue that lumber is currently facing. So I guess the first is we want to kind of understand like the basis of the. So we saw the reply in there, but we want to get a better understanding of what was, I think, being said.
Yeah. So basically, we're saying as the LS authority, you guys have full say over everything that goes on your side of the jurisdiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So any of the lumber activities that take place down here, like processing and all that stuff,
Yep.
that can all be done down here, and you have full jurisdiction over legislating what happens with it and how it can be done, right?
Yep.
But up north, the job is a Blaine County profession, like specifically cutting down the lumber, and any parts of that job would be dictated by them. So in your legislation, when you declare the lumber profession to be something that can be done like 24/7, you can declare the aspects of it that are performed in your section to be done at all times. Like you say that people could go cut trees down in Los Santos County whenever, but in Blaine County want to make it legal to cut trees down outside of a specific time of day, they can also do that, right? So like you basically have full say over the lumber profession in your section.
So and we fully understand that, and that's why we wrote it the way we did. So the intent of what our writing of this, and I'll give you sort of the the specifics. The reason lumber is included in here is that if the time period of the job elapses, the final step that takes place in Los Santos County. Well, actually, Wyatt, if you want to explain it.
Yeah, so he gives you about 2 hours to do your job, and in that process, the final process is down at the docks. If you was to, let's say, elapse on that 2 hours, and you're on your way down to finish it, you can't do that, especially after the time in the blackout period after 8 o'clock. Like you can't finish the wood, you can't do anything. So then you have to wait until morning again to be able to sign back in to finish that wood. And any wood that's left in those machines after that time elapses vanishes. So any work that you put into it to get lumber together is just, it's gone. And there's no getting it.
But I feel like some of these things are more so like facility problems. Like you guys can say it's legal to process it, but if the facilities don't support it, outside of a certain time frame, it doesn't really matter. So I think I understand what you're trying to do. I honestly, I'm not saying you can't do it. I just don't really know if there's anything I can say to help you do it, because it's not really something I can do. So.
This may provide a little bit more clarity. I spoke to I had a so I had a chat with what was it, like I want to say like 2 weeks now, 3 weeks, with the CEO of Industrial Inc. and the implication and the conversation was that things can be sorted if legislated. So,
yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So we're kind of taking the legislative steps now, which is, hey, if you're processing down here, you can do it whenever you want to do it. And then we would approach Industrial Inc. separately,
Sure.
So
yeah, which is totally makes sense to me and sounds 100% correct.
Yeah.
But what we're saying when we like struck it down is we're basically saying you can't dictate what Blaine County does with the lumber profession specifically. But you can totally dictate what happens with the lumber profession in your area. So if you just want to reword it,
okay.
the lumber issue in our area is dictated by what happens up there.
No, not
No,
in
not
this case.
necessarily. Not necessarily, because if you say it's legal to process and do stuff at all times,
Okay,
and then the
okay.
facilities
Yeah.
accommodate that, and then Blaine County has laws saying it's illegal, nothing changes. It's just that the facilities would accommodate people to engage in illegal commerce, if that makes sense.
So-
yeah, it makes sense.
So that's not really an issue. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
if you guys push this legislation forward to allow processing to take place literally any time, and that happens, that's totally fine. And if Blaine County wants to make it illegal on their own terms in specific ways up there, again, that's on its own thing.
So this kind of goes to the next question. Is that's also the other aspect of it, is that if this passed, we speak with Blaine County, they then have the prerogative to accept it, deny it, etc., thus making it a state thing. But wouldn't this be the
Yes.
first step, is that we bring it in and then we approach Blaine County? So in
I
the
mean-
event, under the hypothetical, let's say Andy decides that she does not want this, right?
Mhm.
Well, then inherently that would dictate whether or not you can sign in or sign out, right? Because my reading of it is, the way that we wrote this and my understanding of how, like, when Los Santos County passes something, it is inherently locked to just Los Santos County due to it only being Los Santos County legislation.
Right.
And that just inherent from that, we would never be able to legislate. Like, even if I put something in here that said, like, something very Blaine County related, it'd be irrelevant because we don't have that jurisdiction.
I'm not sure I follow.
Okay, so with this being a Los Santos legislation that, let's say, only passed in Los Santos,
Mhm.
it would have zero effect in Blaine County because unless it's passed up there, nothing alters. Because otherwise we could slip things through, right? And now all of a sudden it's applicable to Blaine County. Like, jurisdictionally, we can't,
I
even if we wrote
guess.
something in here, it wouldn't make an effect. Like, they have to approve it.
Sure. But my question is, like, if you want to do something that's up there and you want to make it happen, why don't you just talk to her and make it work?
Yeah, that
'Cause
was the plan.
I know that she's a very I know a lot of people don't like her, but she's always trying to make things better up there. So she probably would be more than willing to work with you on pretty much anything. So
Wait, no. Well, hold on. I'm not saying we're not working with her. We're literally gonna go speak to her. But we took the first step, which is we made the legislation, we passed
Right.
it, and now we go talk to her once it's passed to see whether she wants
why
to
not
adopt it
just
or not.
why not just push it with her? Have a meeting beforehand. Say, hey,
Bro, what?
let's push forward
What
the
i-
state
what is with these
legislation,
assumptions, bruh?
That affects everyone. And
Okay.
we can come to some terms and agree on it, and then push it forward, and then it would become statewide.
Okay, but so rolling back, how would our legislation dictate in the first place what happens in Blaine County?
Well, yours necessarily wouldn't. If you two essentially come together and agree, you can push forward statewide legislation. If that makes sense. Like if the two authorities push forward a piece of legislation and agree on it, and agree on the terms and
Yeah.
adopt it, it becomes statewide. So you could have in your legislation language that dictates what goes on in Blaine County, and hers could have stuff that goes on in Los Angeles County because it's one piece. It's not two. If that makes sense, it's like
Okay.
a joint effort from the two county authorities.
Okay, but okay, so let me use an example of what I'm
Sure.
there was the marijuana legislation, right?
Mhm.
So we passed it down here and then subsequently it was adopted by Blaine County. So
Right.
we're going down that same approach so that, you know, regardless of what what we're trying to understand is, how is this legislation relevant to Blaine County prior to them even making a decision? We're trying to understand the logic behind that.
What do you mean?
So given that we're passing legislation for Los Santos County that is only effective in Los Santos County, we're trying to understand the inference of how we're trying to change something in Blaine County through this.
Oh, so the implication here is that the lumberjack profession specifically, which is specifically named in here, is
Yeah.
something that occurs in Blaine County. I understand that different processes of it take place in different areas, right? But like the tow job, Group 6, all these, they're considered essentially like Los Santos County companies because they're based here and their duties expand to other parts of the state. And it's the same goes for the lumberjack in that it
Okay.
is based up in Blaine County, but part of its duties do extend down into Los Santos County.
Is that then applicable? So
So just like your Group 6 legislation, you remember
Yeah.
you have the people can have their guns out to defend their stuff when they're doing stuff in Los Santos County. They can't do it in Blaine County. You stated what could be done with that profession in your borders.
So given that G6 primarily takes place down here, why is that not applicable up north?
I'm not sure what you mean.
So
I think I'm pretty sure the logic is tracks pretty well. It's kind of like their headquartered business and their headquartered profession that the North controls, with aspects of it extending down here.
okay, so given the fact that what about, is that the same with G6 and lumber, but down here in this county?
In that you guys have primary control over G6, yes? If that's the question you're asking.
Yes. So, because we were previously, we had to put in specific wording in there saying that it's only for Los Santos County. So inherently, what I'm trying to say here
Right.
is, if we pass toll legislation, would that take effect in Blaine County as well, since it's primarily a job stemming out of Los Santos County?
Well, I guess it depends on the kind of legislation that you're writing. Are you like, if you're like writing stuff that would drastically change how the job operates, it very well could. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question, honestly, because it's just too broad of a question.
Okay.
If aspects of a job go into specific areas of the island, then what occurs in those areas of the island, they can legislate control over.
Right. But, okay. Michael, do you want to take a stab at this?
I mean, I think we're trying to make the exact same point that you just stated, that we passed, or we attempted to pass legislation on the operating hours of lumber activity that occurs within Los Santos County. So the legislation itself inherently doesn't affect the activities taking place in Blaine County. The intent was to say lumber processing activity happening at the port is authorized to happen 24 hours a day. So I feel like we're both saying the same thing. Something's just getting lost here in translation.
Yeah.
So that's where the issue is stemming from, that it's being deemed unconstitutional, but as you're explaining it, it's exactly the intent of the legislation.
Yeah.
To basically legislate and regulate the activity within our county only.
Okay, so here's the issue though. When you say that, it sounds correct because it is, but then you add in this other section of the legislation that you proposed, which is that all jobs that perform all or a portion of their duties in Los Santos County are to immediately adjust their operating hours to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Ergo,
Yeah.
the lumberjack profession, which is based in Blaine County, has a portion of their duties in Los Santos County, would be required to immediately adjust their operating hours to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, so if the issue is with that clause, though, why not state that rather than saying the issue is with the lumberjacking profession?
Because the issue is with the lumberjacking profession, in that you can't dictate that they must operate, as it's written with that clause in that you can't dictate that they must operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can dictate that any portion of that job that's done in your borders can be done 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Hold on. What is being
Like,
said?
you need to be kind of specific if you're going to
Are we-
be writing in language that could have broader implications,
Hold on.
right?
But this is again inherently the thing. It can have broader implications if our legislation only affects Los Santos County. It's kind of, I get it. It's a bit of a conundrum, and it's a bit of a stretch. But I think the point we're trying to make is we obviously can't legislate over Blaine County, and we know that. So inherently, by
Right.
saying that, we're saying only
But
the
you still need to
operation with
write your
which-
legislation that way.
Okay, so what you want us to do is say all of that plus lumber processing facility number 6 at the Port of Los Santos in that level of detail.
I think that instead of just putting a blanket statement that says, all the jobs that perform a portion
Yeah.
of the duties in Los Angeles County, I think you should
I-
say any portions of a job that are conducted within Los Angeles County jurisdiction
Yeah.
must operate on these times.
I
It
think
needs
I
to be specific.
I think I understand where the breakdown is. We've been running off the assumption that Los Santos County, anything that we pass. So I'm gonna provide an example here. Is that when we pass legislation, it is inherently scoped to Los Santos County. So if we said hypothetically, you can own a murder kitty as a pet, and it got passed here, we wouldn't have to put in language saying that pet, that everything that we wrote in here is only applicable in Los Santos County, because it is only a Los Santos County legislation. And using that same, thought process, us writing, that this particular legislation, we are operating under that same notion that this is only scoped to Los Santos County. So irrelevant of what we're saying in here, it has zero effect on Blaine County anyways, right? Like, we passed this, it doesn't affect anything up there just because of that inherent scope.
While I understand what you're saying, we essentially allow you guys to have broader implications with your wording, because the expectation is that you would work with the other authority to make statewide laws.
Yep.
If that was deemed something that you were interested in doing.
Yep.
Which is why we require you to be specific with your wording.
I
We don't
gotcha.
inherently view them as scoped to your specific districts. And we also need things to be written out in plain language for anyone that would be reading these to understand where these laws apply to.
Okay.
Okay, but just so I'm understanding, why would there ever be broader implications on a piece of legislation that isn't jointly introduced in the first place? I mean, it should be as clear as if Andy isn't a signatory on the legislation, then it's not a joint submission.
Because it's written into the
Keep in
legislation.
mind,
I don't
by the way-
understand the question.
I think
If there's language in there that has broader implications, we're not going to just assume and make the scope smaller just for ease of writing.
But you are assuming that there's broader implications. is
We're not
what I'm
assuming.
saying.
I'm interpreting it as a justice, because my job is to interpret the words that you're writing down.
What was the
and
line again?
Think
All
about
operating
them, how
jobs
they
is
might
that
be
part
reviewed in
of-
law if any disputes were to come up. I'm telling you that specific clause, if I reviewed that as a justice, which I have, immediately stands out to me as having broader implications than outside of Los Santos County.
I think the interpretation, Michael, is that this line is sort of inferring that we're saying that you can clock in up north, even though that was not that is not what we're trying to say in this.
Yeah. I think that we just really want things to be idiot proof, because people are stupid, and it needs
Yeah.
to be written pretty explicitly so people don't get the wrong ideas about things.
Yeah. So when we say operating, right, we're talking about you can be down here and operate like the machinery down here in Los Santos County, but it can be interpreted that operating means that you can go clock in up north because something down here is a part of the job. Am I getting this? Is Is this sound right, Angel?
I mean, for the most part, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just don't understand what the like the real contention is here.
Well, it's on the word operating. Where we see that as
Only-
you're actively doing a job, whereas I think you may be reading it as you can clock in.
Well, the problem though is it's not necessarily that word that stands out to me.
Yeah.
It's again in your implementation plan where you specifically outline that every job, all jobs that perform all or a portion of the duties in Los Angeles County must or are to immediately adjust their operating hours.
Yeah. And when we
that
say
basically
operating hours,
that essentially draws every single job
Yeah.
in the state into this legislation.
so
That makes sense.
yeah, when we say operating hours, we're not talking like clocking in. We're saying like the colloquial operating hours, like it from
Yeah, I
the
understand what you mean. Like the
Yeah.
facilities operating their facilities. I get what you mean.
yeah. 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 Okay. All right. Easy enough.
I think
We-
you just need
so
to be a bit
just-
more specific is all.
Just so I understand, because when it comes to finishing the wood, like you can't do it unless Axel gives you the job. If your job runs out, you can't finish the wood.
Chat. Michael writes
And those
IRL
operating
legislation.
hours past 8 o'clock until it opens again, you can't finish wood because
Keep
Axel
in
will not
mind-
give you a job until the morning.
Oh, see, this is
So-
a legislative writer.
I guess arguably, or I guess what would have to happen is
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of. I know what
I
he's
don't know,
thinking.
You would have to find a way to either just
What-
let that station be open all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of I think what we're getting at here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think that you guys could probably go a lot further. I know you said you were going to do it, and I think you definitely should do it. Just talk to Miss Jones and get some statewide legislation put on this, and I think you could get pretty much everything you wanted and more.
That's
And it would be even
that's
more
the plan.
concrete and cemented. So
Yeah, that's the plan. The way that we've been operating is, we push what we need down here, and then we, have a chat afterwards.
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with
so,
that.
yeah.
I personally think that it might be more efficient if you just talk to her and push joint legislation from the start.
All right, I appreciate your opinion, but
Because
Okay.
joint legislation is much more mutable. It's a lot
Yeah.
more solid and a lot more concrete.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Like essentially, joint legislation is equal to DOJ legislation when it's pushed.
All right. What was the other thing that we had to ask about? Give me a sec. Let me take my notes. Do 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 do. Da 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 da.
About county clerks, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, what? So, there's a lot of verbiage throughout the the various legislations referencing county clerks. What is a county clerk now?
So county clerks are employees that are hired and maintained by the Department of Justice. They're
Okay.
essentially our version of what you would call a dispatcher in the PD. They're civilian employees. It's a job that they maintain on the side where they handle paperwork, licensing, just duties like that.
Okay. And so you guys handle the hiring, the firing, the all that kind of stuff?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Right now we
So-
have about 3 active county clerks.
Yeah.
We used to have like 5. Our head clerk is Alex Mushkin Domino. He's the main person in charge of hiring.
Oh my God. Okay. And then it's Eve and Sherry, I believe.
Yeah, Eve, Sherry, Leah, and Dante are the more active county clerks.
Okay. Okay, so so the reason we ask this question is there's a lot. Let's say we want to add permits for things, and we've been avoiding this. You know, uh, pending this conversation is, let's say we wanted to add a new license or something. Do
Okay.
those licenses, number one, inherently need to go through the clerk's office? Number two, can we make new licenses despite, obviously that would need some IT work, right? It may or may not need IT work. How would we go about doing that?
So
And
licenses definitely would need IT work.
okay,
It's one of the small functions in the MDT that is solidified, in that all the licenses are pre-made and we can only pick from them. We don't have, even myself with the highest permissions you can have, I don't have the
yeah,
ability to create or remove licenses from the actual thing. So, as far as like how permitting goes, like if you wanted to create new licenses, I'm sure it can be done, not an issue. If you wanted to maintain your own civilian staff to do licensing for Los Santos County affairs, it's
yeah,
totally on you to do.
okay,
Um, I can't guarantee how it might look in the MDT. Honestly, I don't really have an answer for you there on how that could play out, but you totally have it within your purview and your authority to have a civilian staff, just like we have clerks that could do licensing.
yeah,
Um, for I think for ease of use, the DOJ would rather just you have the clerks take care of any of your licensing needs, and if you wanted
yeah.
to legislate stuff and have them take care of it, that's not an issue. I think for the most part, because they like having the paperwork, they like to have stuff to do.
So,
Um,
okay,
but ultimately, it is your decision. You don't have to use the clerks.
okay. So, and the reason, I bring that up is we've been talking about like licensing for like music and other things like that, so that there's a minimum bar of acceptance for certain things, like if we're funding certain activities. So,
Mhm.
can we license without there being a state level license, right? If
Yeah,
we have a
yeah.
way to
I mean,
verify it and all that.
a license is something that you made up, really. I mean, it's as long as you have the paperwork to track it, whatever you're legislating, you can do
Okay.
whatever you want. So,
All
yeah.
right. So that then opens up the next question when it comes to hunting and spearfishing.
Hmm.
Um, so there's some activities we're working on down in Los Santos County, which is specifically for Los Santos County. Um,
Sure.
we, in your mind, is it best to use the existing licenses? So I'll give you some. I'll give you a preview, right? Um,
Sure.
we've got predator issues like on the oil fields. I don't know if you've seen the murder kitties that are
I have seen them.
yeah. So
They're pretty intense.
they are intense, and we want local hunter permitted individuals to be able to like take them out, right, on behalf of our oil workers. Um, if we now go past legislation in regards to that, how does the hunting license work when both counties could theoretically have very different laws governing that hunting license? You see where I'm going with this?
Yes, no, 100%. I think the how do I put this? The IT guy that maintains the MDT is very grumpy, and I don't
Yeah.
think there's a lot of stuff that we still need to have done. But he's been busy with some other projects,
Hmm.
and I think that is just what I'm probably gonna do is just request that he splits the licensing or allows us to administrate it ourselves, and then we can
Okay.
just create specific licenses as well. So if you wanted to have a music license, well,
Yeah.
the mayor's office could have LS County music licenses, and that allows you to perform or whatever. And the same goes for hunting and fishing and all the other
Yeah.
activities in between. I think it would probably make sense to use the MDT just because it's such a centralized location for people to access and review information. Ideally, I think it's best if we do it in there, and I don't think that it would be difficult to get changes made at all to make this happen. So,
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Because
So just one follow up to that. So let's
mhm.
say this hunting license does go through for our county, and ours is priced differently. I believe the Blaine County is 4,500.
Mhm.
Let's say we wanted to price ours at 1,000.
Yeah, do a million. I don't care.
Right. But it wouldn't be until that foundational work is done like
I
the
mean, you could do it
separation that we
now.
could, right?
The thing is, like, what we would probably have to do is just specify what kind of hunting license it is in the profile.
Okay.
Like if it's an LS County or a Blaine County one, just until it actually is taken care of. It's a bit messy because there's still some stuff that's just not
Yeah.
fully there yet. So we'll have to
And-
come up with a bit of workaround.
Yeah, because we've been dealing with that, and then also separately, we've been dealing with cases where people are losing hunting licenses down south despite having no relevance to what's happening up north, and it's seemingly causing a lot of confusion. And
Right, people are
so-
having their licenses seized in the south. They're like their northern hunting licenses seized and stuff. or-
correct.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are still going to take time to adjust to the whole setup, and you know that is what it is. I think that a lot of this can be taken care of just by getting the IT guy to finish up this project. So
oh, okay. So this is probably something that's like
I'll
a
start
soon
pressuring
TM.
him. I can't say that he's even going to happen. I'll pressure him and see what would be possible.
Okay.
And I'll get back to you and I'll let you know what he says. Because if
Okay.
he says it's not possible, then we would need to go a second route, which would probably be maintaining a secondary tracking system, which
Yeah.
would be annoying, and I would like to not have that have to happen. So
Okay. All right.
When you have that conversation, or maybe you know this already, Justice Angel, but is it possible to have time sensitive like permits or licenses?
I could ask for it.
Like let's say we give someone an event permit. That permit is issued for, let's say, 2 weeks, and then it expires after. the
Mind
fact,
speaking
something
up there, Michael? You're
Yeah, sorry.
I
about
mean,
that.
we already do time sensitive permits. We do it on their state pro or their citizens profile.
Okay.
So like in the DOJ, for those booths, essentially when we were doing booth permits before the new constitution, you manually had to get it updated every 2 weeks. You'd call and pay $5,000,
Okay.
something like that.
Gotcha.
You just put it on your profile.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
okay. All right. Anything else that we need to talk to Angel about?
Off the top of my head, no. I think that's
Okay.
clear.
So for clarity, let's just,
Nothing good.
it's state level license. We're not looking to dive into the nitty gritties and try to figure that out until it's all in. We can always go and alter the legislation we're looking to pass separately. Okay. Yeah, that works
Yeah.
for us.
As
Personally,
for,
I don't
like-
really give a shit if someone's losing their license up north or down south. It's more, I mean, I do, but not like it's not a high priority. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that 100%.
So, and quite frankly, if someone that does happen, they can always come to court. So,
Sure. Yeah, they can take it to court and
all
I'll
right.
just get it back just fine. So.
Okay. All right.
All right, you guys. Well, if there's
All right.
nothing else, then I guess I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks
Easy.
for calling me up to clear some stuff out.
Yep.
Is there anything that you're still pending review on, Nino? Because I went through
Yep.
City
We
Hall
just
recently.
posted. Oh, Michael, I need access to that document so I can post the other one.
Yeah. 1 second. Should be. I think it's that one. Give me 1 second. There are the two. Those are the two we should be posting.
All right. Just give me just 1 sec. One of them's already posted up. It's a update to previous legislation.
You're talking to me or to him?
Oh,
To you.
oh, you, Angel.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. I thought you were talking to him. What'd you say?
There is one that I posted about 15 minutes ago, I think, right before you arrived.
Oh, the amendments to the Stab Act?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And there's another update coming down right now.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go review them right after this meeting.
All right, okay,
Effectively,
easy.
the changes to the one he's posting now is necessitated because taxation is mentioned in that
Yeah.
one as well.
There will
Sure.
also be, I'm trying to provide some diffs because as I think it's important to show what's changing so that you're not reading like a 3-page document when it's like one line that's changed.
Yeah, I definitely think that's very
Yeah.
thoughtful and very nice of you to do.
Yep, I got you.
Track changes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Okay. So we've been going down the route of ensuring that we have legislation passed for sake of transparency before any funds are being moved.
Okay.
If we decide to forego that and we want to use money, do we need to legislate anything, or could I go buy a supercar for Los Santos County? I'm using an extreme example, by the way.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, are you asking me, you have legislation pending that dictates allowing you to use money? You want to know if you can just go grab the money now?
Correct.
I mean, I'd have to review the banking stuff. As far as I'm aware,
It's not
from
really
what I
clear.
I think the intention when I wrote that was to allow you guys to get your money as needed. Like, you don't necessarily need to go through a full. Like, you shouldn't.
So I'll give you a hypothetical.
Okay. Sure,
Let's
go for it.
say I wanted the Los Santos Country Club for $10 million.
Mhm.
Can I do that legally?
If you wanted to make a country club,
Yep. And I bought that
Yeah.
$9 million property.
I suppose you could. I mean, the way I wrote it is that you can create your own rules and guidelines with how the
Okay.
funds can be accessed and used. As long as that your guidelines, and you specifically will have to make these guidelines are not like legislation. They're just like police SOPs, right? So you would just create together a document, write up, this is how we do it at the mayor's office. Well, first Mayor Nino approves it, the disbursement of funds, and then he withdraws it and gives it to the person, or however you want to put it together. Essentially, like the sky is the limit. What it really comes into is there's still laws that apply.
Yeah.
Right. So, you can create your own guidelines, and that's all well and good, but they don't supersede the law. So, say for example, you were to go buy a country club using the state funds, and to buy a state supercar for that, and then it was determined that you're using these assets in a personal matter and not for official benefits, and they were not owned by the government, well then
Yeah.
you could fall foul of potential criminal charges. So,
Okay. All right.
the funds are in your control. How you choose to use them again is kind of up to you.
And then what about in terms of like asset transfer, right? Because, and the reason we're asking, a lot of things understandably are not detailed, right?
Right, that's correct, yeah.
And so I would assume that, let's say I went and made that purchase because I'm the current sitting mayor, but when another mayor comes into place, they would, I assume, just take it over, or do we need to write all this legislation,
Yeah, you
guideline
would-
stuff in advance of all that?
You should write some guidelines in, because essentially you need it to protect you. Because if you do go ahead with your hypothetical country club idea, right? Essentially, from what we see as the DOJ is we see the mayor who has a $9 million mansion in his name with
Yep.
no guidelines as to what it's to be used for or how it would be transferred when he's out of power, blah, 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 blah. And then that starts going down the embezzlement route, because you have used state funds to essentially personally enrich yourself, even if you were not using the property in that way, right? Even if you're using it in a totally honest and earnest way, legally it could be seen as personal enrichments. So those guidelines should be there to protect you if you did want to do something that could potentially fall afoul of laws like that.
So the guideline, yeah, because I think there's been some guidelines that have gone through, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, scrap guidelines, fishing guidelines. There's
So,
a few more up north, yeah.
Am I misunderstanding? But it sounds like guidelines are not legislation, or are they legislation? 'Cause-
They are. I don't understand these the fishing and the scraps guidelines. I don't know why they're called guidelines, because they are
law.
legislation.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are law. Like, they're not guidelines. Those are
Okay.
actual law.
Okay. Thank God. All right.
Okay,
And
so
so
it's
when
just
you say guidelines,
I don't know why it's titled. Yeah, when I say guidelines, I'm talking like an internal thing that you could just write up right now saying, as the mayor, I can use the money to create a country club, and this is all my friends that hang out in it. But we gotta give the
Okay,
thing to the
all
state
right.
when we're done, right?
And that
Like,
I assume would go into our little folder of guideline, like the one that you
in your
created for
internal
us.
documents, yes. In
Okay.
your internal documents.
So you're saying as long as it's
Um,
there, it's probably Gucci Gang, right?
yeah, as long as your guidelines aren't illegal, yeah.
Okay. All right.
You know, like you can't make a guideline that says I'm gonna go give Mr. K $20 million because he asked nicely. You know, like that's probably not gonna work.
But it's Mr. K.
Well, I mean, yeah, he is a nice guy, but I don't think you should give him $20 million.
He's my OG.
Yeah, but it's probably better uses of $20 million.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you could buy a country club and open it up for everyone to go hang out at.
it's a good idea.
I don't know. Just to be clear, I'm his OG. I don't know if you know
okay.
that. Yeah.
I did not know that actually. No.
Yeah, we we had a bit of a falling out a long time ago over Vinny Pistone.
Oh well, it's easy to have a fallout over that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. All right. Joe Zeno, thank you for the 41 months. I think that's everything. But you gonna be around for a bit?
Yeah, I have lots more meetings to go to after this. So
All
I'll
right.
be around. Just give me a call if
Easy.
you need me.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay, very well, you guys.
Awesome.
Good luck on writing up your guidelines. And just remember, I said what I said. My intentions here are just for you guys to be a bit more specific with what you're writing down. Just remove any potential gray areas because we don't like gray areas because that's where bad things happen.
Can we start hiring county magistrates? Is that a conversation you'd entertain?
You want to have like a? I mean, I'm open to the
Tra-
idea personally.
I want to. So, I want to play around with the idea of traffic court being handled by small citations, internal to the county, with the long-term value being, the OJ might have some, people to pull from, and
Yeah,
a little bit
so-
more shit for people to do in Los Santos.
Yeah, I thought about this quite a bit, and I think that it's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Allowing like magistrates to take on some of the lighter stuff
Yeah.
that don't necessarily need like a full judge to review.
Yeah.
The question really is more so just how would we logistically do this, and that's something that I've kind of been thinking about for a while.
Could
I don't
be
really have a
just they-
perfectly clean solution. To be
I-
honest with you,
I can give you a suggestion. I don't know if it'd line up,
sure, I'm
but
open to suggestions.
you have magistrates review it. They handle it, the way whatever, right? Whatever as legislation passes, Los Santos magistrates, whatever, how they get hired, what they can look into, whatever their inherent rulings end up landing, on a forum docket, kind of like it doesn't have to go through the full docket thing, but just like we've got the city hall, sub thing, they put their ruling in there and they put a recording of it. So and then a justice would go and just approve or say this needs to be appealed, we reject it. So there's some level of making sure there's no shitloadery happening.
Yeah, no. In any any situation where this is going to happen,
Yeah.
the magistrates will answer to the judges and then the justices. Essentially, it would be kind
Yeah.
of like a two-tiered system is how I would
Yep.
see it, where
Yep.
county affairs could essentially be overseen by magistrates. And if it's essentially like a state law or a statewide affair, or it needs to be appealed from a county magistrate, it would then come to us. That's kind of how I envision the system, and I think it would be ideal. I'm completely open to the idea. I know that Andy has wanted this as well. So
Yeah.
what we might do, or what I might do, is I've been drafting some legislation. I might draft some more about putting together the ability for counties to have county magistrates. But what specifically would you like to see from your county magistrate?
Uh,
What would you like them to be able to do for you?
I
in the
would
county.
want it just to be traffic until that's proved to work, because if they can't, giving them any more responsibility, and if it blows up, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So probably just
Okay.
traffic to begin.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I will go back to the drawing board and kind of finally finalize some ideas that I've been having on this one.
Yep.
And
I
we'll
think the other
see,
thing is
if we go
it'd
from there.
be I'd like you know it being the mayors of the counties, like kind of like the business approval, they put forward recommendations or like approve them on their end, and then the DOJ does the final sign off.
Okay, so you'd like to recommend magistrates to us?
Yeah, like they can't. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually don't know if you're gonna find many people that want to do this.
What do you mean? I fly people in all the time.
Oh, well, I mean, if you fly people, that's a whole other story.
Mhm.
But like, as DOJ, we've been we're constantly trying to hire judges, but most people, when we approach them, they say, "Oh, that sounds
No, no, no.
awesome. You'll
That's
never
why you
catch
fly
me
'em in,
dead.
you know what I
You'll
mean?
never catch me dead holding a gavel in this city." And it's just very hard to convince people to do it. So
Yep. No. Pre-baked. It's like you know when you go to Amazon and you go like, you know, you can go to like fucking Walmart and get like whatever the fuck, right? Or you can go to
Yeah.
Amazon and get something so much better.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, hey, listen, if you can find an Amazon judge to fly in and take my job, that'd be fine by me. Because
Are you sure?
I mean, if you could find someone that, listen, not to like talk down upon myself, but the
Yeah.
reason that I am a justice is because the DOJ essentially dissolved, and
Yeah.
all that was left was little old Trooper Angel that took a judge position because she didn't want to go back to PD, doing all this stuff because I
Yeah.
had to, not
Yeah.
because I'm necessarily the most qualified for this. So,
Yeah.
if you
Yep.
can find me some judges, I'll put them in the hot seat with me,
Okay. How many would you like?
as many as I can get. I mean, we're
Well,
drowning.
I need a number like 3.
At least,
About 3.
at least 3. Yeah, 3 would
Okay.
be like a minimum is what I'd like
All
to
right.
have.
I got you. I got at least Dick Goldshaft. I got
Say
Cranes.
Dick Goldshaft?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That's not his name, is it?
Richard Goldshaft.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Him and Coop Holiday, I believe, established the DOJ about 20 years ago. It's a real OG guy.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright.
And then there's there's a couple others. You may have heard of them. But okay, yeah, I'll fire off some emails.
Yeah, I mean, if I could get some qualified people to help us out, I would love it because there's lots of cases that we need to have heard.
Okay. All right, easy.
And if I'm not reviewing the city hall board, basically no one else is. So
Yeah, is I know Bailey said he's gonna come back today. I was gonna, because the thing is, we got businesses that the people are not around till like really late. So I was hoping
yeah,
that
what I'm probably gonna do is I was going through the business stuff on our end, and I realized I don't think having a justice approve it is necessary for the most part.
yeah,
Because the whole part of our end is basically just making sure it's not like a illegal business. Like the actual contents of it don't really matter. Like what's going on with the business doesn't really matter because that
Yeah.
is all in your head. Our job is to make sure it's not a cocaine smuggling ring or something like that. Like
yeah, but how, you mean like blatantly, right? Because who
yeah,
knows
like
what
blatantly,
they're doing?
yeah, like blatantly, like
Yeah.
if the mayor wanted to push through Big Bob's cocaine emporium and they approved it, then we're gonna be like, no. But other than that, pretty much anything else, if it's not illegal, we'll approve it. So,
Is this
I'm
a
probably gonna just make it available to any judge, and we have lots of judges that are around then that could take care of it.
okay? Yeah, that's been the biggest challenge for these guys. Another question: is this an at-will state?
Yes, I will. You
Okay.
can fire people for any reason.
All right. Perfect. Okay. Easy. Is Bailey going to jail?
For why?
He passed a piece of legislation 48 hours into contestation.
I did notice that actually.
Yeah.
I had some questions about that.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders if he's just an old boomer who didn't know.
Yeah,
How
that's
to
kind of
do
what I'm
math.
thinking.
Yeah. I mean, that's not okay.
Yeah. I
To be honest with you, though,
I don't think he
like,
did it intentionally. It doesn't,
Yeah.
we're not.
I mean, because something like that is if you intentionally like skirted the period, I mean, I don't know. I guess it would really depend on a lot of things. Like,
Yeah.
it could be anything from just a simple
Yeah.
mistake to full blown treason. It's kind of like a big spectrum there. So,
I got you.
let me
Can
take a
I
look
get
here.
impeached if, like, you know, look, Tilly's my Kamala Harris, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get it to the stage where, she can, take over the reins down the line.
So you're asking, like, if you get impeached, would she take over for you?
Yeah, like, so how does that work? Well, wait, does impeachment even have, like, implications?
That's whatever we decide, basically.
Easy. Well, that wasn't why I was, where I'm going with this is Tilly does things, right?
Mhm.
Like piss on beds and shit, right?
Okay.
So-
Well, I mean, everyone's got their thing, you know.
Yeah. So, let's say someone wanted to impeach her over it.
You
Like,
couldn't impeach someone for pissing on a bed.
okay. Well, how far does that thought process extend?
What do you mean? Like, if you pissed on someone else's bed?
yeah, sure.
I mean, if you pissed on someone else's bed, that's a crime potentially. So,
Okay. All right. Easy.
and if you pissed on like someone else's bed and it was like actually a crime and you're found guilty of it, you could potentially be impeached for it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Easy. All right.
But I mean, like, you would never do that. So,
I got you. Would I have any responsibility of a Tilly's pissing problem?
oh, yeah. Okay. I think it depends on a lot of things. Like, did you know she was intentionally pissing on people's beds? Did you
Yeah.
encourage her to piss on people's beds? Were you, engaging in that activity with her? I think
Yeah.
there's a lot that kind of comes into play there, right?
Well, yeah,
essentially, like, what
Mm.
steps were you taking to potentially be involved in what she was doing, right?
Right. But not knowledge of it in and of itself wouldn't, because, like, I don't think we have the right, what is it? The, not right
Duty
to
to
report.
report?
Duty to
Right.
report. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not compelled to report as the government official, not necessarily, but at the same time, if you knew of a crime occurring and you didn't report it, and that was like brought to light, that very well could be looked upon in a negative matter in an impeachment hearing.
Okay.
It could make you potentially like complicit in the crime, not necessarily like you did the crime, but you could have some involvement in it. So, I think it really depends on the context pretty heavily.
All right. Okay. We'll put a plug in that then.
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Well, hopefully, okay. Hopefully Tilly's not been pissing on beds, and that's just hypothetical. And if it is a bed, it's her own
Okay.
or yours.
Yeah.
Or anyone that she has consent for.
Yep. All right. Easy. Okay. Well, I think that's everything for now.
Okay. By the way, just so you know, as the mayor, you can contest any of Andy's legislation just by paying 50K from your legislative account. So, if you ever see her pushing something that you don't like, you can contest it.
I don't. There's been a lot of people trying to get me to do that, but I thought about it, but I don't know. I think it's
Seems a little underhanded.
yeah. We got too much shit going on down here to worry about it.
No, I get that. I'm more so just saying that because I feel like it's important that I remind people what they can do, because I don't know if they know they can do it.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
All right. Well, good luck with the rest of your day, guys. Hope you have a good one. If you
Yep.
have any other questions,
Thank
just give me a
you.
call.
Appreciate it. Oh, I do have one more thing, Angel.
What's that?
The jurisdictional between the police departments.
Mm-hmm.
Could you shed some light on what the jurisdictional stuff is intended to mean? This has come up in a handful of meetings that I've had with LSPD.
Okay.
And so where is the extent of my responsibility over them? That is number one.
Okay.
And the second is where does their, what is the intent of what is written? And this is going to be followed up with the recent legislation from 2 weeks ago, because we had to pop that open.
Which one from 2 weeks ago?
The right for people not to be transported up north. There was the question about
yeah,
you know, the Bolingbrook, which
right.
we didn't think was specified, but we can extrapolate that out.
So to start off, the intention when we wrote the duties and powers of LEOs was to give law enforcement powers to both of the BCSO and the LSPD throughout the entirety of the state.
Yeah.
Now that jurisdictions are split and they're defined, we need to grant powers to these people as well.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, when it comes to handling scenes, a Los Santos police officer will have a better understanding and knowledge of some of the civilians and circumstances in LSPD area, as opposed to someone from out of town who's up north. So we wanted to allow for the LSPD to have ultimate say on scenes that are occurring in their borders, and for the BCSO to have say in what's going on up in theirs.
That's what we thought. Okay.
Yeah, so if it came to any disputes, such as, let's say Bones came down here and he pulled someone over.
Yeah.
And
tried to tell him to wear a helmet.
Well, I mean, is that a law? You have to wear a helmet?
Apparently there's a charge for it. Yeah, I learned that today.
Really?
There's a particular guy that likes to pull me over all the time. I don't know why.
What's it called?
What was it? What was the one? Fucking Ventura. Ventura thinks I'm trying to kick out Blaine County out of Los Santos. I don't know where the fuck. The charge is called, let me see. What the fuck did he find? I don't know. He was looking at his MDW for 10 minutes with his lights on. And then, yeah. And then he says, oh, there we go.
Operating a cabinless vehicle without proper protection.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it took him 10 minutes.
I mean, he can enforce that because these are all state laws. Everything that you've seen here is state law.
Yep.
We like to, like I said, as the DOJ, while we're still waiting on some things to get moved, like we'll accommodate you guys, and if you need us to write specific things in here that are like in parentheses Los Santos or whatever law, we can do that. But anything that's in here is de facto state law. But yeah, like they have the authority to enforce state law on Los Santos citizens or Los Santos residents.
Yep.
They are granted that authority by us. So
okay, just as a follow-up then, if that penal code charge exists and it's considered a state law, and we tried to pass legislation that says, well, you don't need a helmet to ride a motorcycle, state law would supersede it though, right?
Right, but as the DOJ, like we're probably just would delete it.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Like the only laws that we're not really gonna bend on are like shooting cops. And murdering people and torture and like financial crimes, like
the
like
common sense stuff.
Like like the basic civilized society kind of laws. Like those are the ones that we're not going to bend on. Like if there was pressure to raise or lower times or fines, that's something we can always be amenable to do. But when it comes to stuff like running red lights and wearing a helmet and all that stuff, like we just need to know what you guys want and what you want to legislate, and we'll be more than happy to remove or amend state laws to accommodate that.
Gotcha. And that's without needing to go to court and doing all the presenting and all that?
Yeah, you don't need to do that because for the most
That's only
part,
if it's in legislation explicitly by the state.
Yeah, like that appeals process is more so to like fight legislation and things that are written. So like if you wanted to fight the VAF legislation, for example, you would take that to one of those appeals, right?
I got you.
But even then, like you can just talk to us because most of us would rather make changes the easy way than going through the hard way, unless it can be avoided. Like if the VAF stuff, I'll fight you tooth and nail until I die, basically to keep, right?
Oh no, we want.
I'm just saying hypothetically.
You take those cars, taxes.
I'm just saying hypothetically. I'm hypothetically saying like if you wanted to test it, I would fight you tooth and nail for it. But if you wanted to talk about traffic laws. Well, I don't really care that much about them, to be honest with you. And we would just change them for you if you wanted to create your own legislated rules down here. It's like your jaywalking and your stop and go stuff.
So going back to the extradition thing, because I know we briefly talked about it, that came into play. This is if a crime happens in Los Santos and they're arrested in Los Santos, that the civilian or the person that's arrested has the right to be processed in Los Santos County. I believe the contention was, well, what about the transport to Bolingbrook? That's a clause we can definitely put in. Not something we consider when writing it.
I think that there's an incorrect assumption that they don't have the right to be processed anywhere specific. They don't have the right to be processed at all, technically. I mean, they're subjected to processing.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
But I wouldn't say that they have the right to be processed in Los Angeles County specifically.
It might be helpful if I tell you why we wrote this.
Okay, sure.
So I started getting a number of calls about whenever around the time we put this, and the calls range from why am I getting brought up north, what they're like kidnapping me, some bullshit like that. But obviously there was bullshit involved in those calls. Like some people felt like they were getting kidnapped. Obviously they weren't, but they wanted me to do something about it. I had 2 incidents where officers are saying, oh shit, this guy is worth this much money, let's bring him up. And so I had enough complaints come my way where there was a desire for a choice that they don't get moved up north. Is it within my purview to pass legislation to have people processed down south, or do you think that's well beyond my scope?
I mean, I don't think you could, but not necessarily because I don't think you have the ability to legislate like what your PD does. You don't strictly have the ability to tell them what they do. Like if the BCSO arrests someone on a state law in Los Santos jurisdiction, they still broke a state law, and that Blaine County officer or deputy can process them wherever they please.
Okay.
I mean, I think that you would be able to definitely restrict it in some ways. I just don't think you could do like a full carte blanche, like all law enforcement authorities must do it at Mission Row.
Can I pose it from a different angle, Justice Angel?
Sure.
So previously you mentioned that if a crime occurs in Los Santos County, LSPD officers, I don't know if you specifically said they had the right, but they should be lead on it, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so, they would have that. He's asking, can they have SOPs around it? That's not something I
mean, they can make SOPs if they want to. I mean,
yeah.
Ultimately, a lot of these jurisdictional conflicts are usually solved in like what's the easiest for everyone to handle.
Yeah.
Because the last thing that we want is we don't want the sheriff and the chief of police getting into a fist fight on the side of the road because the chief of police tried to interfere in a traffic stop that the sheriff was doing in Los Santos County.
I got you.
We don't really need that happening. Even as fun as it would be to watch, we don't need that. So,
no, I agree.
I think that you could probably enforce that to an extent, So, like, let's say, for example, down here, it was illegal to open a hot dog shop on Sundays, and it was a Los Santos County law specifically. And a Blaine County person came from up north, and they tried to arrest them for that, and they take them up north. I could totally see why it wouldn't make sense for a Blaine County Sheriff's Office or the deputy to take a Los Santos resident to Blaine County to charge them for a law that's in Los Santos County. But most of the laws that people are being charged with are state laws, so I just don't think
the what you're saying.
Really tracks. You know what I mean?
I think the logic and the reason why people are hitting me up is they're viewing the 2 counties like counties in the United States. right? And there's jurisdictional agreements between those. And so they're coming. Actually, I don't even think people are looking at it like that. They're looking at more like states.
Yeah,
right?
they're looking at more like
So,
states. Like
yeah,
I crossed
yeah,
the line, so you can't arrest me.
right.
But like in essence, what it really is these two jurisdictions, you and Blaine County, have an agreement, whether you like it or not. You're forced to have an agreement that you have to work with each other to an extent. They have authority to enforce the law down here, just like you can enforce. They can enforce. LSPD can enforce the law
Yeah.
out there. But when it really comes into question is your individual county laws. There's not necessarily any wording that says that they're required to prosecute your laws, and that they're even able to. So,
But if it's being done for a specific monetary gain, is that? Because I feel like we're bordering on a gray area here, where this guy's worth a lot of money. Let's bring him up north, and then it goes to someone else's budget, who then get a helicopter with the money. You know what I mean?
yeah, but I mean, like, let's be honest. You guys have $70 million, and they have like $20 million. You guys can buy whatever you want right now.
No. Yeah.
Like, you guys both have tons of money to go around. I don't understand what the
No. It's
the
just a
issue
matter
is,
of
really.
It's not from our perspective. Like I said, these are the complaints that are coming our way.
Yeah.
People are complaining from the perspective of, are you arresting me under bad faith? Nino,
Yeah, I
do
get that.
something. Right?
Yeah, they're asking like if they're being arrested for pure monetary gain, which is
Right.
understandable. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, the state was getting paid before; they're still getting paid now. Well, the state's not getting paid; the individual institutions are.
Yeah.
But the money was still going somewhere before. That never
Right,
changed.
right,
It's just
right.
now it's going to an individual department that's processing them. So,
Okay. All right.
I mean, to be honest with you, that's kind of just how it is in America. Really,
Okay.
kind of messed up, but
Yeah.
All right. Easy. I think.
yeah, I don't know. I think that there's definitely could be room for some clarification on this, and I could talk to Bailey and
Yeah.
see what we could do to make it a bit more clear.
Okay. All right. Okay. Easy. I think I think that was the last thing. All right, Angel.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, on your country club idea,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of thinking about it. I realized if you took $9 million out to go buy, like, from the county account to go buy that house,
Mm-hmm.
the money just goes right back to you guys because it's still state property that would be assigned to you guys. So basically a free house if you think about it. You should definitely do the country club idea.
Yeah, we were
Feel-
thinking. I don't like the properties that are there, so I'll tell you what our plan is. So prior to this conversation, and we may still do it. I want legislation. My general thing is I want legislation in place so that whenever the baton is moved over, there's a amount of transparency, and I don't think the mayor should just go and spend money however the fuck they want, right? So
Yeah, I think you should do what Andy's doing then and put some handcuffs on yourself for the next person.
well, that's what the legislation's for, right? So
Yeah.
like MOPEC was written specifically for that reason. Here's where it's getting spent. Here's why it's being spent. That's why we got the event legislation where we're pushing through, and all these other things like the tow stuff. These things need to be in place before the money grants can be made. And
Yeah.
if it's not, that is inherently those handcuffs, specifically tailored, and an explanation why. But
Yeah, I
let-
get that.
But once we pass this like country club thing, the intent of it is, it's kind of police can use it for events. There's a place. It's kind of like what do they call it? Like in the U.S., the fucking Moose Club or whatever the fuck.
I've
Moose
never heard of
Lodge.
it.
Yeah.
Is it the Moose Lodge? Is that what it
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of places have shit like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, listen, I appreciate that you want to put some more transparency guidelines into what
Yeah.
you're doing because it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah.
So, technically you're not required to, but it's very much, it looks good on you that you want to do that. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, all
all right,
right.
too. Well, I have to go have a meeting with Trig. I think he wants to talk to me about
Oh, ISO. Yeah,
so
that's coming down your way as well.
I might make it illegal to say the word ISO. Sick and tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, but that's how the world works.
Yeah, but I like to be different, you know? We should just make it so we don't even use time. We
Yeah,
just
but
operate on gut feeling around here.
Sounds like anarchy.
but if we got rid of ISO, then the city's gonna have tsunamis at random times.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go talk to
And
him
your
next,
phone will
actually.
stop working, and
Yeah,
you might
that
not
would
even be able to wake up anymore, because like, when can you? When are you waking up? Are you
how
waking
could you
up?
know you're waking up if you don't even know when you are now?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you might try to get out your door, but you think it's 9:00 p.m., but your door thinking it's 10 p.m. So did you actually turn the door? No.
That's right. I mean,
So-
is time even real? Are we even here?
It's
well,
like some
technically it
Schrodinger's
isn't.
cat shit.
Well, it's not exactly because of time dilation. Did you
That's
know
right.
that if you're on top of Mount Chiliad if you and I had a synchronized watch down to like 1,000th of a second, right? Matched
Mhm.
down to 1,000th of a second, and you went up to that radio tower up there, you know what? Our watches will, and then you came back, our watches are no
Mhm.
longer going to be in sync.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think it's by the tiniest amount of time, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, isn't
Should
it kind of
test
weird
this.
to think about that? Like, aren't the astronauts on the ISS like 0.006 seconds like ahead
Yep.
of us or behind us, something like that? I don't remember. It's
Yeah.
some small amount of time.
Because of gravity and time dilation.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, sometimes I feel like everywhere I go, time goes really slow because of how big my head is. So
We want to fire a satellite to put up GPS clocks up in space for
Mhm.
Los Santos County. Is that going to
Go for it.
require state approval?
well, I mean, that would be in state territory at that point. But I mean, like, I'd sign off on it. Sure, you want to launch satellites? Go for it.
Okay. All right. Easy.
Totally cool with me.
All right.
All right, you
Alright.
guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta call up Trig. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Yep,
I'm gonna go
anytime.
review your stuff in a bit too. Okay.
All right.
Take care, gentlemen.